And good evening, everyone. It's the second night or second class for our purification program. So I always like to kind of go through some of the things we've been doing for last week and some of the changes we'll be making for this week. So this is week 2. One of my favorite, I always think about taking this out, but it makes me giggle when I see it. So speaking of vowel movements, you probably noticed this past week, sometimes you'll have voluminous bowel movements. That's usually because you're just kind of cleaning everything out. After the second week, it won't happen quite as much. You'll have, I say we'll become like kittens and babies and puppies. When you eat, you poop. And that's where your body, what should happen. That's what we just train ourselves to go once a day. So if you're finding that happening, that's fine. And you'll notice that your volume is less because you're eating foods that are nutrition rich and fiber dense. So you're utilizing the food that you're actually eating. All the processed food is just kind of garbage. The body's like, what's this? I don't need it. I'm going to get rid of it. We'll save all those calories and pack them on around our bellies and the back of our legs and that kind of stuff. And then we'll just get rid of the rest of it. So you'll have noticed that this week. And then everything should be coasting. If you're having any issues, write it in the chat, or you can email me at dr.b12@earthlink.net. You can call me at 555-1212. No, just kidding. You can call the office. They know this, the standard protocol. So Dr. Royal Lee was the founder of Standard Process, and he was quite an amazing man. He was a dentist. And his first product he developed was Catalin, which is a multi. And he developed it because he noticed the increase in dental caries, which are cavities in teeth, because of his patients' poor diets of refined flour and refined sugars. So he created Catalin to kind of meet the needs of all the nutrients the patients weren't getting. But I always love his wisdom in this. Food always has been, and I suspect always will be, the ideal source of your vitamins, for they are surrounded by untold numbers of nutritional factors. When you take a bite of an apple, the amount of vitamins and nutrients you get from that one bite is just amazing. And when you take a bite of food that is processed or highly refined, you miss all those nutrients in there. There's a book called The Real Truth about your vitamins and supplements. And it's a book to chew on. It wouldn't be something that, I wouldn't be recommended reading. But the thing that I loved about that book was that it made a whole new appreciation when you take a bite of food into your mouth. So kind of keep that in mind as you eat. I always kind of am mindful of the people that grew the food, or packed the food and delivered the food, and we try to eat local as much as possible so the food doesn't have to be transported from kingdom come to our home. And there are a couple of different places around here. Noble Farms is one. You can go there. They have things that are just in season. They also have free-range eggs and grass-fed beef. I'll get some information on you. I'll send the link with that information the next time I send a link. All right, so days 8 through 14, you should be, if you started on Monday, Tuesday's your day 8. If you started on Tuesday, Wednesday will be your day 8. If you start on Wednesday, Thursday will be your day 8. So unlimited fresh vegetables. Try to eat as much organic as possible. No corn, beans, or white potatoes. You can have collard greens, kale, broccoli, beets, artichokes, asparagus. If you're hungry on this, there's a problem because there's more than enough food to eat. Unlimited salads. You can use olive oil, squeeze some fresh lemon. You can use a balsamic. Just make sure you get a balsamic that is not loaded down with sugar. Some of the ones, like we have a Mount Dora olive oil company, and I know Winter Park has one, but the balsamics usually are high in sugar, so be very careful with those, because we are trying to break you of that habit. So days 8 through 14. I'm trying to move this down here a little bit. There we go. So days 8 through 14, one fruit serving is 1 cup. Eat twice as many vegetables as fruit. So I would leave those. If you're going to do a shake, put your fruit in your shake. I am not a big fan of doing any, I don't do a lot of fruit, maybe some organic blueberries, but for the most part, I usually generally stay away from fruit. It just doesn't make me feel good. That's just too much sugar for me. I don't really do that. So you can also have lentils. You can have 2 1/2 cooked servings per day. And also same with quinoa. But remember, if you have a weight management issue, if you're trying to lose a few pounds, I would stay away from that as much as possible. There's more than enough food for you to eat and feel full. Your oils are very important, 4 to 7 teaspoons per day. Coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil, flaxseed oil, grapeseed oil, fish oil. Not that I would use fish oil or anything, but you could. Your spring water, mineral water, green tea or herbal teas, at least get about 8 ounces of water a day. Half your body weight in ounces is usually the general. Some days I get more depending on my training, so don't hold that. You don't have to do that. You can drink too much, so keep it at about half your body weight. And remember, I said if you wanted coffee, you could have decaf as long as it's Swiss water decaf and organic. I like for you to do that because some of them are not sourced well. So day 11. So that'll be Thursday, Friday, or Saturday for all of you. Protein sources, 3 ounces. Serving size is 3 ounces cooked. You can have 2 to 4 servings per day, and that's 1 to 2 servings being fish. Fish should be wild or deep sea fish, salmon, cod, or sea bass. Chicken and eggs should be organic and free range, antibiotic and hormone free if possible, and prepare by broiling, baking, roasting, or poaching. If you want to have wild game like venison, I'm okay with that. If you want to have grass-fed beef, I'm okay with that. Generally, what we do here at home is we have a little bit every once in a while. I don't have to have it every day. I usually do eggs throughout. So be mindful that you don't have to have it. And if you want to do more of a plant-based protein, you can add more scoops of your Veggie Pro in there. No cured or smoked or luncheon meats. We'll talk about the sodium nitrate in those, not this class, but the next class. And so also, let me just roll back on the kit. When I sell you the kit, the real kit comes with 2 powders, but my experience is some people need 2 and some people don't. So I only sell it with 1 powder. If you're running low on powder, you'll need to get a second one. The scoops in the Veggie Pro Chocolate Vanilla, it's 4 of those level scoops. If you're doing the SP Balance, it's 2 scoops of the level scoops in there, and they're bigger scoops. So starting tomorrow or Wednesday or Thursday, whenever your 8th day is, your pill reduction is drastic. It feels like you're hardly taking anything now. So this supplement regimen will continue for the rest of the program for the next 8 to 21 days. So you only have to take 19 capsules. Technically, what we do at our home is we do 5 gastrofiber in the morning with 5 green food and 5 gastrofiber at night with 5 green food. The gastrofiber are supposed to be 3 times per day, three times per day, which is 9 capsules. What I found originally is I would miss those 3 in the middle because I only had to take 3, so I would forget. So I just kind of split them, and you can do 5 gastrofiber and 4 at night with your 5 green food, morning and evening. We just make it simple and do 5 and 5. It's just easier so you don't mess up. I mean, it's not that you're going to mess up anything. And remember, the gastrofiber is super important, and it's something you can take after. I like it because it has a little bit of the prosymbiotic in there, and that's super important for our gut, to keep our gut healthy and to keep our immune system high. So I recommend to split it, morning and evening, 5 and 5, and then 4 and 5. Or I just keep it simple. I do 5 gastrofiber in the morning with 5 green food, and 5 gastrofiber in the evening with 5 green food. So that'll be your change in your capsules. And this is just one of our. We have 3 of these. I think Marianne got these at Publix. So you can just kind of spin around and get what you need. So trust me, when you think that you're taking a lot when you're taking 30. I mean, I know I overkill whatever I take because I know way too much. I don't want to go down the road and 10 years ago, if I would have taken OPC Synergy or Epiimmune Complex with the shiitake and maitake mushrooms to help my immune system, I would have been better off. So I just take a lot of stuff. So if you feel like you're taking too much, talk to me and I can help you try to reduce it. So exercise, really, 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 I'm super, super high on this, and you know that. You should be walking at least 4 times a week for at least 30 minutes. You can do yoga. That's a great way to detoxify your lungs because breathing is so important. And I always caveat this: strenuous exercise should be limited during the purification program. If you've been working out, you've been training hard, it should make a difference. It doesn't make any difference. I don't really change anything I'm doing. And I'm not an abnormal person, but like most of you think, but you can work out hard. Just make sure you're, supplying your food with the nutrients it needs. So your goal is to get 10,000 steps a day. You can use a pedometer, app on your phone. There's all kind of devices now. I think I told you that I wear this Oura ring, Oura. So it calculates my movement, my sleep, monitors my temperature 24/7. So I can see if I'm getting sick or I'm about to get sick. I know it right away. Health professionals are using this. The NBA used it in their bubble to keep them healthy. So it's a pretty cool device. Downloads to the phone in the morning and tells me my sleep patterns, my readiness patterns, and my activity for the day, my calorie burn, and my activity for the day. So it gives me a lot of information. So let's talk a little bit about sugar, because most of you are just addicted to sugar. And I really want you to start kind of thinking about this, because I want to show you some things, dealing with our world today. But I want you to think about maybe decreasing your sugar in the long run, because the sugar has so many ill effects on our body, and you don't really need sugar. We do need some carbohydrates. Your brain only needs 20 grams of carbohydrates a day, 20 grams. And if you don't have it, your liver makes ketones to fill that place. So at the very end of the class, on the last class, I will talk about doing something like a keto type diet. I kind of call myself a ketotarian. I do mostly about 70% plant-based protein, and then I do add some animal protein in. And some days I do all plant-based protein. So there are different ways to do that, but I'll talk to you about that at the end of the program. So you've seen this in the office. I have it in both offices. 4 grams of sugar equals 1 teaspoon. That's 16 calories. And, you can look at all your drinks, and, when people come in the office, the first thing to do is take a picture of this, because they know somebody that needs to see that. And, just because you're drinking diet soda doesn't mean it's any better. Most of you have done the program before, so you're already on the plane with that. But look at this. This is 61 names for sugar. So your 61 names for sugar, that's a lot of names, and that's how it's hidden. And this is what gets everybody in trouble, because we think, oh, but I'm eating agave, or I'm eating this, and I'm eating that. Well, it's still sugar. It still breaks down as sugar. And if you don't utilize it, it gets stored as fat. So sugar in the world of carbohydrates, hydrogens, and oxygen is big and bulky. And that big bulky carbohydrate, when you eat it, if you're not going to utilize it, so say you have ice cream at night before you go to bed, well, I know you're not going to utilize that before you go to bed. So that big bulky carbohydrate then has to be broken down into nice, neat little packages called fat, because if you're not going to use it, it needs to be stored for later on. So we also know where that gets stored. So please be mindful when you, as you kind of make your changes for your own health, look at labels and see what those names are on there. If you need this sheet, you can either put it in the chat, and either Tina or Marianne will email you this sheet if you don't have it already. So, I do a little bit of cycling. And so it always kind of makes me giggle when I see my cyclist friends, and they have their, $20,000 bikes, and, they're buying components that have 2 and 3 grams if they're carrying around this big belly. And, that it's just notorious to see these same riders with a banana in their back pocket, which is all sugar. So when we run out of sugar, the next thing we burn is muscle. So on a ride, we definitely don't want to be burning muscle. So that's why shifting from a kind of a high carbohydrate diet to more of a low carbohydrate, high fat diet gives you better fuel for the long run. So I just kind of put this in here to show how much sugar is in this is just a small to medium banana. There's 5 teaspoons of sugar in that. Remember, each teaspoon is 4 calories. So that's how you end up with your 105 calories. Same thing with juice. People like, my patients will tell me, yeah, I had a glass of orange juice this morning, and I had yogurt, and I had some fruit on the yogurt, and I had a English muffin. Well, every one of those things are made up of sugar. So you're starting your day with sugar. So it's going to set your day up to not be successful. So when I watch these little things, even though the juice is good for you, you can get that same vitamin C from broccoli, from bell pepper, from all your vegetables. The only difference between a vegetable, the nutrients in the vegetable, and the nutrients in a fruit is the sugar. That's it. If you're eating vegetables in the color of the rainbow, you're getting all the vitamin C and all the nutrients you need. We don't really need to have the sugar. I'm not saying you can't have it as long as you calculate it in your day when you're on the program. Let's talk about alcohol, because I know in our household it was a challenge to just this time and this era. Let's just say this whole era of 2020 was a challenging time for everyone, and we all at one point, some of us have self-medicated. It just gets into an easy habit to open a bottle of wine for dinner, and next thing you know, between two people, that bottle's gone. Although that's not a lot, it still becomes a habit. Becomes a habit. So we want to realize that alcohol is also sugar. So I thought I'd give you a little bit of some information during COVID times, how the alcohol volume was in 2020, the growth of alcohol for this past year. We had 15% increase in beer, cider, and all those other, seltzer drinks, and then a 27% wine, which I know that in our household we did contribute to, and spirits 31.7%. So it wasn't just you or I, it was everybody all involved. It's been a challenging time. I mean, I think in Florida we've gotten away with it a little bit easier, but people have been challenged. Alcohol beverages boom online during COVID. These are the alcohol weekly sales. So you can see at the bottom what they were in 2019. You can see what they were in 2020, increasing by 477% in April. So that's quite astounding, and that's quite a bit of alcohol. So, COVID was a contributing factor probably to alcoholism. So, in excessive alcohol use. I mean, when we were growing up, we were taught that if you're going to have alcohol, have it as beverage. You don't sit around and drink a 6-pack of Coke. Why would you sit around and drink a 6-pack of beer? So I kind of learned that. But excessive alcohol use is devastating, and there's 88,000 deaths just related to that, and 1 in 10 deaths are among working age adults. So we spend a lot of money, 249 billion. That's the cost of excessive alcohol abuse. So binge drinking is considered in that realm there, which like I said, when things get crazy, we think, oh, I just need to have a glass of wine. And that's okay, but monitoring it. So sugar. So the most common health conditions among COVID-19 deaths were diabetes. 25% of them were from diabetes. Next were dementia, COPD, kidney disease, heart disease, and asthma. So when we look at diabetes, I think this is really important because for me, when I look at the whole COVID death, 95% of all the people that died had a health condition of one of these. So when we talk about being quarantined, and luckily we weren't quarantined as long as like New York and maybe California, but the baking pushes the staple ingredients into the spotlight. So for 4 weeks ending in March 28th and 2020, total unit sugar sales exceeding substitutes were up 64% versus the same period, a year before. So people were baking and, eating foods that probably weren't the healthiest for them because they were home and they had nothing else to do. So we're going to bake something. And then I like this one. I found that it says coronavirus diets, what's behind the urge to eat like kids? So, it went into the whole history of that, but, frozen pizza sales doubled. There was a recent survey that said 42% of respondents indicated they're purchasing more packaged food than typically would and less fresh food. I mean, people are ordering out, with DoorDash and Uber Eats and all those things, which are good for those businesses. But I just must say that those are calories that we can't, they're difficult to burn off, obviously. So like I said, for us, we'll go out to eat once a week. We go early, we go to the same restaurant, and we get home, or we take out and bring home. So we still are being careful because we have family. My dad kidney disease, and he has dialysis 3 times a week. So we always are careful when we have to, because we have to go see the parents, and plus we take care of everybody in the office. So we want to make sure we're just as healthy. So environmental health news, what does junk food have to do with COVID-19 deaths? Well, because the high levels of obesity and diabetes are the key for these COVID deaths. That anybody that is obese or has diabetes are at higher risk for severe illness related to COVID. So being overweight is strongly linked to the development of type 2 diabetes. And so it's not surprising that these are some of the results that the CDC found, and that along with 48% of the COVID victims being obese, 28% of those hospitalized with the virus have diabetes. So I don't want you to be those statistics. My goal for you is to create, really good health strategies so that you're not fearful, that you do take care of yourself, and your body is strong enough to, manage in case we do get sick. And diabetes in the U.S. is just rampant. I mean, there's 34.2 million people have diabetes. That's 10% of our population. 26.9 million people are adults. 26.9 million people are diagnosed, and of that, 26.8 are adults. Undiagnosed, there's probably 7.3 million, and that's 21.4% are undiagnosed. So, I mean, if you don't want to have to live, poking yourself every day and taking metformin or having to take insulin because you're really ragged out your pancreas and it can't do its job, you're insulin resistant, and then that means you'll have to take insulin. These are all things we cause that. So it can happen so easily. So I want you really to be aware of that. And you may not have the problem, but you have family, you have friends, you can be that mouthpiece for them to help them. I think that's what's important. And for me, this whole COVID, when we look at that, the people, 68% of our population is overweight or obese. That's most of our population. So that's why the people are so, activated to be, sick. So please kind of employ these health strategies. And that's the whole reason why I do a 21-day in January. Let's clean up, especially from last year, and let's really get moving forward with some better and health strategies as far as that, but also continue those health strategies throughout the year. So here's some quick facts for type 2 diabetes. 90 to 95% of the people with type 2 90 to 95% of the people with diabetes have type 2, meaning it was caused. Type 1 you're born with. Gestational diabetes is a female that's pregnant, so that cancels out all the guys. You can't have that. But most of it's type 2, and that means it's caused by us. Over 25% of adults over 65 have diabetes. Exercise and weight loss reduce the risk of prediabetes becoming type 2 diabetes by 58%. Exercise and weight loss. Two things, those are all choices. Whatever you put in your mouth, it's either an act of nutrition or an act of suicide. So make your choices count. I'm not saying you can't have a treat every once in a while, not on these 21 days. But be mindful those treats become a regular thing, and then that's where we get, wrapped into that whole sugar encounter again. That's why I do classes in April and in July and October, because I know we'll fall off the wagon. It's okay, but I'll help you get back on that wagon. More than 1 in every 10 adults has diabetes. So when you go into a grocery store, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's one, and it's amazing how many people are, have diabetes now. And even our young people now, 210,000 Americans under the age of 20 are estimated to have been diagnosed with diabetes. And that's 25% of that of our population. And if you look, at the treatment options, there's only 2 medications approved for kids, and there's 20 plus for adults. But now that kids are becoming more and more likely to be type 2 diabetic, and if they're born type 1, it's usually the insulin resistance caused by the mother. Sometimes it's just genetic, but some of it is caused by our genes and what our moms did when we were in vitro. Can't blame our parents for everything. We didn't listen to them half the time anyway. So pre-diabetes. So when you come in for a nutrition or a functional medicine appointment with me, and I always draw blood work. The blood work includes your A1C, a hemoglobin A1C, and that's a measure of if you're diabetic. That measures the sugar in your bloodstream, so to speak. And if you want it to be less than 5.7, I like it 5.6 or less. And anything higher than that puts you in that pre-diabetic range, which means if you don't make some changes, you're heading in that pathway. 88 million people aged 18 years or older have prediabetes. That's 34.5% of the adult US population. 65 years or older, 24.2 million people aged 65 or older are pre-diabetic. And I see it all the time when patients come in the office and they think, oh no, I don't have a problem, but here your A1C is 5.8, 5.9, 6.0. And is that medicated right away? No, it's not medicated right away. If you make some dietary changes and lower your carbohydrates in your day, you can beat that. So 66.5% of all Americans have diabetes or pre-diabetic. So 66.5% right there, there's your numbers that you see with COVID. So that's why it's so scary, because these are the people that are going to get sick. Heart disease and stroke, these are all things that are caused by sugar. So nothing kills more Americans than heart disease and strokes. More than 859,000 Americans die of heart disease and stroke every year. And it's one of the comorbidities for COVID as well. So it takes an economic toll, $199 billion per year, and it causes $131 billion in lost productivity on the job. So it's a choice what you put in your mouth. I mean, it's not that I'm perfect. I see patients that come in all the time. Dr. Cooper sees patients that come in all the time that have not made good health strategy choices. And it shows. And so for me, one, I want to be a good model for you. I want you to know that I practice what I preach, and I wouldn't tell you to do something that I personally won't do myself. But the other part of that is I want you to be well. I like having a well care practice, not a sick care practice. And we have disease care system. We don't have a health care system. So for me in chiropractic, I feel like we are the kind of the start of that health care system or your wellness system. So we want you to have those health strategies in place. And this is some of the ways that we can do that and help you. And all these articles are from the CDC about chronic disease and the costs. So you can go in there and delve into that even more. I didn't want to bore you with too many numbers. But obesity affects one in 5 children and 1 in 3 adults. And I mean, go to Disney World. If you go to Disney World, I mean, you can definitely tell the Europeans, you can tell the Americans. The Americans have the big turkey leg with the big gulp thing that they're drinking and eating. You can tell the Europeans because they're all sitting at a table, sipping their coffee and sharing a sandwich between 4 of them. We just have different values of food. We're not going to starve to death, I promise. You go all night without eating, so you can go a few hours during the day without eating. My favorite thing that I always think about is when I go fly. It's like people can't wait to get their peanuts. Like you're going to die between now and when you land because you haven't had your peanuts on the flight or whatever junk food they feed you there. So when I talk to you that way, you kind of get the drift of what I'm saying there. But I thought this was an interesting fact with the obesity as well. Over a quarter of all Americans, 70 to 24 years, are too heavy to join the military. So what are we going to do? We don't have anybody to protect us. The obesity cost of the U.S. healthcare system is $147 billion a year, all caused by us. We can all make those changes. I've made those changes, so I don't want to be one of those statistics. I don't want you to be there either. And so why is it so important when we talk about blood sugar? Glucose is sugar in the blood. It's our fuel. I mean, it's a great fuel to use. We just don't need that much of it. The pancreas's job is to regulate that blood sugar by producing insulin. And if you're eating too much sugar, the job of the insulin is to take that sugar, the glucose, and put it into the cell. Well, if you have too much glucose, you can't fit it in the cell anymore. And the insulin, then you can't do its job. So you become insulin resistant. And that sets up your diabetic retinopathies and all those things that go with it. So the insulin carries that blood and the sugar to give the body's cell its energy. And if the pancreas can't do that, then we have diabetes. Now, some of you have done my math test before. I was going to do a new one, but I just think this is so good. Bob has 36 candy bars. He eats 29. What does he have now? Correct. Diabetes. Bob has diabetes. So sugar causes osteoporosis because A, it increases calcium loss. B, it increases bad bacteria in the gut. C, it causes inflammation. Or D, all of the above. If you're saying D, all of the above, you are absolutely correct. So is it worth it? We have a greater incidence of women, especially women as we age, that have osteoporosis. And we want to blame it all on hormones, but we have to blame it some on the diet because it's what the foods we put in our mouths. So remember, when we talk about blood sugar, we want our blood sugar to be under 90. Anything 90 and over, and that's your fasting blood sugar. So when I do your blood work, you'll have blood glucose and it'll be a number. We like that number to be around 86 to 89. Anything 90 and over, one is cancer productive. Your body, cancer loves sugar. It's its best fuel. Also, that you're the healthiest in that range. So you don't ever want your blood sugar to go over too high, because then it has to really recover. So if you sit and eat a bag of M&Ms, you shoot your blood sugar way off the chart. And if you do that maybe once a year, your body can recover from that. If you do it once a week, not so much. Your body then goes, okay, what is he or she doing to me? I can't do this. I'm going to have to spike the blood. I'm going to store it as fat. And, I won't be able to use the insulin to put it in my cell, and then I'll become insulin resistant. So then I'll have to be medicated to manage that. I don't want that for you. And it's a perpetual cycle. So you eat the sugar because you like it and you crave it. It's very addictive. In my blood sugar classes, I show you the rats that go to they're offered cocaine and they're offered sugar. And of the 43 rats, 41 of them go to the sugar, and the other three go to the other couple go to the cocaine because they probably can't get to the sugar. But it fires up the brain just like cocaine. So, and it's legal, so it's okay for us to do that. But the blood sugar levels spike. The dopamine is released. Dopamine is what makes us feel good. The brain, in the brain, and then that it equals an addiction because we always want to feel good. Then we have a massive amount of insulin that comes in to drop that blood sugar level back down. So then your blood sugar, you eat the candy bar or the bag of M&Ms, and then you crash. Your blood sugar levels fall rapidly. Then the high insulin levels cause immediate fat storage, which we don't want. And then the body craves that lost sugar high. So then we have hunger and cravings. The low blood sugar levels cause increased appetite and cravings, and the cycle is just repeated. So you've heard me talk about, if you eat, say you're hungry and you eat a candy bar. When you eat that candy bar, you're still hungry after that candy bar. You're hungry because your body's saying, hey, I'm hungry, but you didn't feed me anything that was nutrition rich and fiber dense. So in your mind, you think, oh, I need another candy bar. So where that cycle comes in there. So that's why we do things like Gymnema. So if you're having trouble with any kind of sugar cravings, talk to Tina or Marianne. We'll get you started on some Gymnema. That'll help kind of squelch the sugar cravings. So too much sugar. Look what this causes: cardiovascular disease, tooth decay, dizziness, allergies, cholesterol, hypertension, colon and pancreatic cancer, type 2 diabetes, ADD, ADHD, obesity, hypoglycemia, and metabolic syndrome. That's a lot of stuff that's caused by just eating too much sugar. So is it worth it? Why are our health care costs so high in the United States, and we're considered to be the wealthiest nation? We have the most unhealthy people. It's because we need to take some responsibility. And I'm asking you to take some responsibility for your own selves, because I want our tribe to be the healthiest tribe. So how much sugar do you really need? So for women, it's 6 teaspoons of sugar, or 24 grams. I wouldn't say go eat 6 teaspoons of sugar, but when you add your carbohydrates up in your food, it should be, you don't need more than 24 grams. I would say keep it under 100. For me, I do 50 to 75. For men, you can have a few more, because guys, we don't like you because your whole metabolisms are faster than ours, and it's very frustrating, I must say. So in Lake County, this is 2017. You can see in the red circle here, healthy weight was 32.5%. The overweight and obese was 32.2%, and obese was 32.6%. Those are big numbers. And look at the kids. I mean, they're catching up with us. And then this is in Orange County. So 35.4% are healthy weight, 34% overweight, and 27% are obese. So those are our numbers in Florida, and it's pretty consistent throughout the state. So there's not, Orange County has a little slightly better, but it's not much better than, I would like to see healthy weight at, 64%. So the number one of public health is unhealthy weight. And the truth slayer, the scale that we have at the office in Eustis, you're welcome to come do that. Anybody that's taking the class, if you can get up to Eustis, get your passport out and come visit, get on that slayer, the truth slayer, because it will tell you where your fat is, where your muscle is, how much your bones weigh, how much your organs weigh, and it'll give you the information you need to know what a healthy weight is for you. Because you could weigh 150 pounds, but if your body fat is within reason, I'm okay with that. And you may be overweight on the height and weight scales, but you may be at a healthy weight. So that's where that scale comes into play. Visceral fat around the belly is so devastating. That's one of the biggest health risks we have. Any man with a big belly like that, that's heart attack weight right there. Look for the crease in the ear. Go get in there. You can, after this, get in your mirror, have your wife or partner or spouse check you, look at your ear. If you have a crease in your ear, that means you're predestined to have heart issues. You can change that by diet. Okay. Only 36% of Floridians are at a healthy weight. That's the average for the whole state. By 2030, 60% will be obese. I don't want that to be you. That's why I harp on this so much. 6 out of 10 children born today will be obese by the time they graduate high school. Over the next 20 years in Florida, obesity expected to contribute to millions of cases of preventable chronic disease, such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. Remember, cancer is fed by sugar. The cost is an estimated $34 billion. So our healthcare system doesn't need to be revamped. Well, how about we teach our fifth graders how to really eat correctly? I mean, it's a great age. If they made those choices, I mean, if you teach your fifth grade or something, they will definitely teach you something. So address the important issue that those images I showed you back here, these. So Florida started a program in 2013 called Healthiest Weight Florida Initiative. So they have a whole website and you can go see where your county is, and they have ideas of exercising and things like that. So, but some people don't go do that. That's why I have you on these classes. So a new study shows Florida's obesity rate has increased 80% in 15 years. 15 years. So I like that at least everyone's wallet is thinner. Their body might not be, but their wallet is. So this is what it looks like. So you can see on this, on the person on the left, you can see where the fat is. I mean, really, that's a 120-pound person with an extra 100 pounds of fat. And you can see where the fat is around the organs, around the arms, around the thighs, inner and outer thighs. But look at it all around the organs. Look at the normal organs. Look at all the fat. This is visceral fat. This is the deadly fat. This is what kills us. So when we talk about calories, we talk about units of energy. We take in calories through food and drink. Calories are burned by all bodily functions, such as blinking, talking, and playing sports, to exercising, to just sitting at your computer, lying there in bed at night when you wake up in the morning, just lying there, you're burning calories. So your basal metabolic rate, that's the amount of calories you burn at rest. And that's in any involuntary movements like respiration, your blood pressure, digestion, heart rate, and your body temperature. Those are all your basal metabolic rate. So we use a Hamwe equation. For those of you that haven't done this before, we allow 100 pounds for the first 5 feet, and then 5 pounds for each additional inch. For men, we allow 110 pounds for the first 5 feet and 5 pounds for each additional inch. So for instance, I'm 5'4", my ideal body weight is 120 pounds. And to get your the calories for your basal metabolic rate, you multiply that by 10. So I need 1,200 calories a day just to get my normal body functions moving. And for my blinking, my digestion, for my breathing, my blinking my eyes, all that, I need 1,200 calories a day. So resting metabolic rate is 60%. You have a thermic effect from feeding. When you eat something, you're actually burning calories, and your physical activity is 32%. That makes up most of your basal metabolic rate is from resting. In my instance, probably not. Probably do a little bit more exercise than some of you. But that means you can catch up. So when we talk about weight maintenance, we're talking about calorie in, calorie out, negative caloric balance, energy in equals energy out. So if we want to lose weight, we want to take less calories in and burn more calories. If we want to put weight on, we want to take more calories in and expend less. So we'll tell a little bit on Mary Ann because this happened. So we were down St. Pete. It was like the day after Thanksgiving, and I have a couple patients down there that I take care of and manage. And so I had my tools there, and this is a Zyto test I do. So she's like, "Oh, well, test me. I'm not feeling too good, and let me test me." So this is her test. So you can see that the red and the green, those are biomarkers. There's 172 biomarkers I test. You can see that 14 were good and the 158 were not so good. So this was on 12/24. Sorry, that wasn't 12/24. 11/24. I need to change my date there. It's 11/24 on right at day after Thanksgiving 2017. So on Monday after Thanksgiving holiday, she did the 10-day blood sugar program, lost a few pounds. She was feeling fatigued. She thought she's got a thyroid issue. She thought her thyroid was acting up. So her energy improved, felt overall healthier, and she decreased her sugar cravings. That's from the Gymnema. And the Diaplex too will help. So this is her test on 12/21. So you can see how all the markers, most all of them were in range. So this is really a good kind of it's like a blood test. It's a moment in time. It doesn't predict any disease or anything, but it kind of gives you a good or bad picture. We definitely want to see green like this. So that was really a super good test. But that was just doing a 10-day blood sugar. So you can see the change in your food that we eat, how much it will make a difference in your everyday life and how you feel. So you remember the 1 head of calories, a head of broccoli is 50 calories, and half of a Reese's peanut butter cup is 44 calories. Remember, not my teeth marks. That's an image from Google. So you can see what calories look like in a stomach. So oil, chicken, spinach, eggplant, and beans, and you can see how much more volume you have with these things. So the more nutrition-rich, fiber-dense foods are going to make you feel more full. So we've talked about this before. If you run a mile or walk a mile, it's going to burn approximately 100 calories, give or take 10, 15. So I just try to stress this, and I know you've seen this before, but if you're walking 2 miles, you're going to burn 200 calories. But if you're going to Starbucks and you're going to have a grande caramel macchiato, that's 240 calories right there. So you've already outconsumed your exercise. So this is where people think, oh, well, I'm going to reward myself with a cookie or, a coffee. But when we look at the carbohydrates in that, total carbohydrates were 34 grams of carbohydrates, 34 grams, 32 of it was in sugar. So that's a lot. You got a little protein in there, and the fat, it's okay, but the carbohydrates is really what I look at. So if you eat just 100 calories more than you need per day for 1 year, that's a 10-pound weight gain. And you can see over here the difference between chips and carrots and grapes and a honey bun and an apple and a candy bar. So fiber rich, nutrition dense, these have none of that. So, people are like, okay, well, should I take vitamins? Should I not take vitamins? Well, I pulled this article from 2014, actually 2016, no deaths from supplements, no deaths from minerals, no deaths from amino acids, no deaths from herbs. There was no death from any nutritional supplementation. So this was a pretty broad study. There was one death contributed to Ma Huang. Ma Huang is like a speed, speeds up the system. So it could be a fatality related to that. But now those are energy drinks, but those aren't really nutritional supplements. So be mindful of that. So the truth is no man, woman, or child died from any nutritional supplementation, period. So don't worry about things being dangerous or the FDA or news media or things like that. But that's why I use standard process, because it's whole food based. It's not made in a chemical lab. It's organic. Everything they source goes through a gas spectrometer, so they know exactly what's in it. And if they are bringing food supplementation from the outside that they don't grow on the farm, it goes through that gas spectrometer, so they know exactly what's in it. And if it doesn't have what they say it has in it or has something else in it, they don't accept it. So they're very, very picky. I've been in the research and development and quality control labs at the farm, and it's a really high class area. I mean, they do an amazing job. So, we wish it could be easy to have like vitamin donuts or drink your Ovaltine. But yeah, not so much. That's just not how any of this works. I'm sorry. And then we have Big Pharma's $1 Million Woman. It's a lifetime of psychiatric medications, old age treatments for Alzheimer's and dementia, lifetime of mammograms, which cause cancer. Those are free. A lifetime of type 2 diabetes treatments, lifetime of antibiotics, vaccines, and painkillers, and experimental treatments for cancer caused by mammography. So that's a $1 Million Woman right there. So the drug companies don't really care. They don't want you to be healthy. That's how they make their money. I want, I want it to be a different. I don't want a disease care system, and I can't make a broad spectrum change in the world, but I can make it with our tribe, one patient at a time. We're talking about the starfish story, and Marianne, I've never heard of that story before. So the guy's walking along the beach, and there are thousands of starfish on the beach, and he's watching this guy picking up a starfish and tossing it back in the water, picking up a starfish and tossing it back in the water. And the guy goes up to him, he says, "Geez, dude, what are you doing here?" And he goes, "There's so many starfish here. You're never going to be able to get all these starfish back in." He says, "Well, it makes a difference to this one. So I want to make a difference to each one of you. And that's why we do this, because we care." All right. So what to avoid? When in doubt, avoid anything not on the list in your program guide. This is vitally important to your success. So if you have margarines or spreads or corn oils or vegetable oils or safflower oils and sunflower oils or any hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils or trans fats, out the door. Use them to kill weeds. I don't care. Get rid of them. Recycle your containers. You will not be eating those again after I talk to you about it next week. I just went through some whole new data of why not to use seed oils, and and you have, well, we'll go into that next week. I'll just skip that. We'll talk about it next week. So no caffeine and alcohol, no coffee, tobacco, or stimulants, no soft drinks. You can have seltzer water if you want to have a flavored seltzer water. I'm okay with that. If you want to have mineral water and squeeze lemon too, I'm okay with that. If you want to infuse water with fruit, I'm okay with that. No nuts, beans, dairy, or grains, no processed or refined foods. Just get you back into eating whole foods. Dried canned vegetables and fruits. Try to stay away from those. No cured, smoked, or luncheon meats. So we definitely want to teach you to learn to hold the sugar. And I thought this was appropriate since it's MLK Day. If you can't run, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. So, if you had a bad weekend, there was football playing and you decided you were going to make a bad choice off your 21 day, today's a new day. We have football next weekend too, so be prepared. Guacamole and carrot chips, there's all kind of things you can do. So your body keeps an accurate journal regardless of what you write down. So, my patients will tell me things that they're eating, or my favorite, and this is why I'm not permitted to go to the grocery store. So I go in the grocery store or go into our local Publix, and invariably I see a patient. And my favorite is the patients coming. I'm walking down the aisle and here my patient turns in the aisle and you see them back up out of the aisle because they don't want me to see what's in their basket. And then when I do see them at the checkout line and they're in the back, well, I don't normally get this. Yeah, right. I know better. All right. So remember, next week we have a supplement change on day 8, which is this week. Sorry. 5 green food 2 times per day. Split your gastrofiber up to 5 in the morning, 4 at night. You're going to have a few extras, so just do 5 and 5. Make it simple. I do 10 in the morning and 10 at night. It's much easier. And on day 11, you can add animal protein if you need it. I mean, we kind of go, yes, we'll have it, and we do a lot of veggie meals at night. I do mostly plant-based protein with the Veggie Pro shake, so I get most of my protein there. And then I'll talk to you at the very end, the class 4, about doing some intermittent fasting and why I'm so high on keto. I see the changes it makes in patients. I see the lifestyle changes and the health changes with patients making changes like that. So they're huge changes. So if you really want to really tweak it to the next level, I'll take you through that on the last class. So remember, great health is not a destination, it's a journey. We get there. I mean, I've changed over the years. As I learn something, I am, imply it into my day. I mean, it's become a part of my day then. So when you know better, you do better. I mean, I used Splendid before. I didn't know until I knew, then I couldn't use it anymore. So if you're using any of the yellow packet, pink packet, or blue packet, stop it. You can use stevia, truvia, monk fruit. There's all kind of things that you can use that'll sweeten stuff. So I wanted to keep it short tonight because I really care about you guys. So I'm going to say good night, and I will see you next week, same time, same station.